Folks, biblical leprosy isn't what you think it is. In fact, it's not leprosy at all. Let me explain. In 1868, Norwegian scientist Gerhard Hansen discovered the biomedical cause of leprosy, an extremely chronic but not very infectious disease. Basically, it causes a loss of sensation and a progressive, though painless, ulceration of the extremities. Facial nodules develop, deforming the face, but leprosy very rarely affects the scalp. It is never white in color. The polluting skin condition translated wrongly as leprosy in your English Bible sounds like a completely different physiological condition. In fact, in some instances, it is not even a condition limited to the human body. Leviticus chapters 13 through 14 describe a repulsive scaly condition, perhaps something like psoriasis when on skin. Whatever the real biomedical cause of this condition, it was not modern leprosy. And Leviticus notes that this condition could be found even on clothes and the walls of homes. Paleopathology studies ancient health and disease in humans and animals on the basis of archaeological remains, such as bones, fecal matter, dried blood, and so forth. With only one isolated skeletal exception, paleopathologists have not found any other evidence of true leprosy in human bones from the ancient Middle East that can be dated earlier than the 6th century Common Era. So, biblical leprosy may have looked repulsive, but biomedically speaking, it didn't harm anybody, unlike Hansen's disease. Why then would such a physically harmless phenomenon be considered so serious to our Israelite ancestors in faith? Whatever this condition actually was, Israelites who suffered from it were excluded from the worshiping community. This was because, being found to deteriorate skin, clothing, and walls, it was interpreted as a destruction of essential social boundaries necessary to distinguish us from them, insiders from outsiders, clean from unclean. Therefore, biblical lepers had to live apart from the community, a fate worse than death for any Mediterranean collectivist personality. So biblical leprosy was something far more depressing and distressing than a simple skin problem. Remember, for Mediterranean biblical people, there was no life except group life, no conscience except group conscience, no self except group self. Therefore, it is impossible to underestimate the impact of suffering in isolation. Mediterranean cultures are gregarious and group-oriented people. They need community to live, just like a fish needs water to breathe. Without community, social network, connections, and relations with others, the other-directed Mediterranean person suffers and can even die from seclusion. This is the condition Jesus healed. By doing so, he restored poor Israelites to wholeness so that they could participate in the forthcoming Israelite theocracy, the kingdom of God. My friends, the polluting skin condition described in Leviticus chapters 13 through 14 was definitely not Hansen's disease, that is what the modern world would call leprosy. The Hebrew and Greek words should not be translated as leprosy in the Bible, but there is a lot to learn from the stories of Jesus healing lepers, including the excluded. Who do we today exclude in our churches? Did Jesus really cure people? Biblical stories about Jesus helping sick people are about healing illness. Every culture knows sickness, but interprets sickness in different ways. The Gospels understand sickness originating from demonic powers, a far cry from our scientific Western sensibilities. As I just told you, sickness, a misfortune in health and well-being, something wrong with the body, is a pan-human reality. We all know sickness, but various cultures interpret sickness in different ways. 21st century Western people, including American Christians, see sickness as disease. This is a culturally specific interpretation or explanatory concept of the reality sickness. We see sickness as disease, meaning as a biomedical malfunction afflicting an organism. So we look for curing the elimination of disease by repairing the biomedical malfunction. Biblical people, that is to say, Mediterranean Middle Eastern people, interpreted sickness differently. They saw sickness as illness, another culturally specific interpretation or explanatory concept. Illness is a disvalued state of being in which social networks have been disrupted and human meaning lost. Biblical people looked for healing, which is the restoration of meaning and wholeness to human life. The New Testament tells stories about sick people, yes, but when it does, it always reports episodes of illness, never disease. There were no microscopes in the world of the Bible. How could any biblical person know of viruses, germs, or diseases, much less document them? And what medical conditions get mentioned by the scriptures? There are no blood tests, x-rays, or lab results in gospel stories of Jesus' healings. Speaking biblically, all human misfortunes never are caused by what's, for example, germs, viruses, genes, hormones. Instead, whatever the human misfortune is, biblical people always understood that a who caused it. A who, someone like God or spirits. Therefore, the only possible biblical help for the problem of illness had to also come from a who. Hence, what's such as injections, ointments, pills, therapy, and other medical treatments were simply inconceivable to biblical characters or authors. Given all of this, is it right to say Jesus cured the sick? Or is it more honest to affirm that he healed infirm people? With Jesus, those people suffering the polluting skin condition that we anachronistically call Hansen's disease became clean. The mute could speak with Jesus. Those without eyesight could see with Jesus. Whether or not there were biomedical changes, these people were healed, and that is the focus of the Gospels. Jesus heals, meaning he returns the sick people to their proper social state. My friends, the Bible was not written for, by, or about Americans and other 21st century Westerners. United States people see wellness as being able to function, perform, and do. This is why a healthy American is a productive member of society. As seen already, biblical health is quite a different thing. How very sad it is that books proliferate about biblical nutrition and diet programs and health practices supposedly spelled out in the Bible, as if the scriptures were written to give our foreign scientific culture direct answers to human life. This is pooled ignorance. Persisting in it is culpable ignorance, sinful stupidity.